everyone, and welcome to this live stream. Today I'm hosting, as the festival director and founder of MiraBan UK Film Awards, 3rd edition. I have the honor and pleasure to have with me the film score juror, John Altham. Say hello, John.
Hi, how you doing?
And the special guest, Nicolas Villarreal, who is a character animator, director and writer of On and Off, a 2D animated short film that has won many awards worldwide. And tonight we are playing its trailer and then jump into the Q&A session. But before we watch the trailer together, I want to give you some background about Nicolas. So since 2002, Nicolas has been working as a traditional animator, character designer, sculptor, and visual development artist. He worked on films, video games, including Walt Disney Studios, Sony Computer Entertainment, Amazon Studios. He gave presentation at Pixar Animation Studios, DreamWorks, Apple, and also he's today the teacher of the Academy of Art University in San Francisco. He is the director of the Visual Development and Traditional Animation Department. So he shares all his knowledge with his students. Also, he has had a TED Talk in 2013, and I really encourage you to look it up. It's really amazing. I don't want to make any spoilers, so without any further ado, let's watch together the trailer of On and Off, and then we will be back with the Q&A session.
Thank you, Jay.
And we're back. That was amazing. So, in a nutshell, On and Off is talking about how distractions can threaten creativity. Now, Nicolas is a creator, but this is something that affects all of us. We are constantly interrupted, and distraction destroys our focus, and a creative focus is even more difficult to hold. So, let's ask a very simple question. Although I read your director's statement, many people haven't. I'd love you to tell me what inspired you to make this short.
Thank you, Jay. There were a couple of things. The main one was how when I was working, I would get bombarded with all these notifications from my phone, even though you can turn it off. And then I noticed, like in meetings or right in the Muni, which is the subway and the bus here, or just looking around, people in their phones. And I would tell if they were, and this is a personal question, because they would be either reading or playing a game. And that's why it's a personal question, because it depends on the context. I was looking at two, it was a girl and a guy. And the guy was playing a game. I mean, it's indistinct. It was just having what I was seeing, and the girl was reading. And I was thinking, maybe instead of him playing all day, he has been studying, and he only has half an hour to get disconnected and play the game. Or maybe the girl was reading, and all day she didn't do anything productive for her, and she's reading for half an hour. Or it could be the opposite too. And it's made me thinking. I love how things can be misleading. And I started noticing that with my students as well. One of the things I love to do as much as making and directing films is teaching. And it's all the same. In my class, not anymore, because now it's more common. But before, I would tell my students, no, don't take your phone. When we draw from the model, and we have 5-minute break. And that break, I tell them, don't go into social media, don't go into play games, keep drawing. Those 5 minutes, at the end of the day, they add up maybe 25 minutes. And those 25 minutes, you multiply it by 15 weeks, and you have an extra hour of drawing, a class of drawing. And I remember there was a girl with her phone, and I was ready to give her my little speech. And thank God I didn't say anything. because I went over and I picked over, and she was looking at drawings of Glenn Keane, which is one of my favorite animators, and he's a phenomenal animator. And she was trying to mimic the line quality. So she was using the phone to learn something. And then next to her, there was a kid that was playing video games, even though I told her like 1,000 times not to. And I saw this contrast, like in their personalities. That was one of the things that inspired On/Off. And you know, I started thinking about On/Off in 2000. Usually when I finish the film, either I started thinking of the next one while I'm finishing the film, or right after. I didn't have the time for a couple of months that I keep thinking about it, and if it can be a film worth making or not. The bunch of them, I didn't make them because it wasn't worth making them, I thought. And this one I started thinking about On/Off in 2017, 18, and I believe I started at the beginning of 2019 or the end of 2018.
Wonderful. Well, because we don't want to give any spoilers to the audience, but at the same time, I do want to mention, obviously, some of the main characters of your movie. They are inspired by real historical people that gave so much in terms of creative change. Frida Kahlo, Tesla, Leonardo da Vinci, Beethoven. You use them and you imagine them to be in the contemporary world and how they would react to this social media network. And in a way, you are pushing us to consider that talent is also made of self-discipline. So I do believe this is something that not only to the people of, let's say, our age, I'm about to be in my 30s, but people who are younger, who are more mentally affected by the use of social media and in a way the abuse. It will be great to hear how did you feel about this intrusiveness of social media? Is it like in a way you consider it a threat to creativity completely, or can we balance it a little bit? Can we, in a way, use it at our own advantage?
I think you can, but I mean, if you watch the film is not against technology or social media, because I don't want to use spoiler, but there are two kids that are learning from phones. Mm-hmm. It's as cliche as it may sound, it's how we use it, because it connects me with all my friends and my family. But at the same time, I look at a bunch of art and sports on social media. Mm-hmm. But if I'm painting or drawing or directing, I turn it off. Mm-hmm. Because I'm drawn to it. I hate to say it, but I am. I'm drawn to it, and I notice if I'm drawing, someone sends me something and I check it. So I'd rather turn it off or put it away and start drawing. When I was in college, which it's long, it seems much longer than it actually is. Well, it's 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. I remember, I'm not sure how you're in your mid, I'm about to turn 30. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure, Michael, John, how old you, but 20 years ago, when we were in school, I remember we had, it sounds unreal, but only music like Messenger or Winamp. We didn't have constant intrusions. So I would be painting music on the background, that was pretty much it. Now it's in front of your face.
And this film is, as we love to say from MiraBan UK Film Awards, is candidate for Best Animation Short and also for Best Film Score. And we recently found out that Michael Brennan, who sadly passed away, has received about 100 nominations for Best Film Score. So this drawn me to welcome John to ask his questions about the music that makes On/Off so special.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess the first thing to start off with, and what I noticed to begin with, was, this blend of the old and new, and that theme going throughout. And one of the things I actually really enjoyed from a music perspective, one of the things I noticed, and I'd be interested in hearing, the process and thought process behind it, was, blending the old and kind of very classical contemporary music with then. And particularly with the orchestration, and at least to begin with, being very piano heavy, developing then into the strings, and then with the winds, it opens up and then starts becoming quite synth heavy towards the end with arpeggiators. Was that kind of a musical kind kind of note to the old and new in terms of the contrast with technology there?
That was all Michael. The process was the same one all the time. He used to live in Vegas, and he was the director of the Rev as well. It's a huge show in the Wynn hotels. It's similar Cirque du Soleil. So we'll fly with Alessandro, my producer, in the morning. We have lunch with him. After lunch, we'll work from 1 to 4 or 5, and then we'll watch the Rev, and then drink with him. The next day we'll come back. This time he had to fly to China after it, so we flew the night before, with the same thing. Next day breakfast, and then we started working with him. And we have 2 hours. The process that I follow with him was I would bring him what I call an emotional timeline for the audience and the film. So we'll draw a timeline, and I would give like little pigs saying, okay, confusion, sad, happiness, doubt, happiness again, soft, and I would write percentages of what I wanted for the audience and what the audience had to feel, to communicate. And then he would come up with the scores. It wasn't too much. I would bring in some references, like Astor Piazzolla from Argentina is a huge reference in my scores. But then I love when I work with people to let them include their own talent and work and genius, because I believe when I do a film, I do the best I can, and I look at the film and I look at it, I can't do any better than this. And then when I give it to the sound designer or the composer, they bring it to a next level, to the point that doesn't feel like my film anymore. Because I see things that I didn't see before because they push them. In on-off, we went to meet with Michael. We had lunch. We talked about the emotional, the peaks of the movie. And then he would have the piano, and I would tell him something with the film, and then he would play around. And we worked probably because he had to leave to China, like an hour. We went back to our hotel, 15 minutes. We did check out, another 20 minutes. We started going to the airport, Vegas airport, which was 20 minutes away. Halfway of the trip from the hotel to our airport, which is roughly, we are in 45 minutes, he sent me a text message. I said, what do you think about this? And we opened up Alessandro, we shared it. That was the score of on-off. The score that won 84 awards today, he composed it, he told me, it would be always the same, so I didn't have an idea. And he would tell me, just be open-minded. Rare times I would shut down an idea that he would have, because he knew exactly what I wanted, and he would add his own talent that would change things. It's really a shame. What it saddens me the most is he was on his way of becoming someone great, and that's what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And his score was absolutely stunning, I thought, as well. And so creative in a way that I thought was a really, really lovely reference to the old kind of those classical contemporary pieces from, some of the greatest composers of the time. And then, bringing in that modern element with in my opinion, when I was looking at it, is kind of like a hint to the technology, which I thought was really, really beautifully done. Like you were saying there, that the actual process is sometimes one of the most difficult and challenging parts of the whole post-production, and particularly with the communication of how to convey that musical language, and equally your language as a director. It was really, really interesting how you just used the percentages. In other films, have you used that same technique? And how have you normally found that communication process with post-production?
I started working with Michael, I knew him for 15 years, and we met. I directed a very short film for somebody else in 2007 or 8. And then in 2009, when I started with Pasteurize, I met him, and we started working like that with the percentages, and then he would laugh. I would tell him, you know what, he needs to be like 10% happier. He said, okay, great, 10% happier. But it was a way to me to visualize. When I work with other directors, if I need to design character, it's very important to me, and I tell them, sometimes they tell me, well, I have this very rudimentary drawing, which makes it look very precarious. And I tell them it doesn't matter, because this little drawing shows me what you have in your mind. And to me, the way of explaining music to him was with percentages. And I would do something, I kind of play the guitar a little bit. And I was showing, but not even close. So with the percentages was the way that he could visualize well what I was trying to communicate.
That's awesome. And also, I noticed watching it a few times, because it's one of those shorts that make you, want to rewatch it. There is a sort of a signature of Michael in the film, like music by Michael Brennan. That's an amazing touch. It just shows how close he was to this film, and even to putting his own signature within it. And I thought it was smart and it was sweet at the same time.
That was a little blink that I gave him. But he wouldn't care. He was so down to earth. He would laugh, and he was a very funny guy with a lot of inappropriate jokes that I can't mention right now.
Oh, I'm sure. I feel like this is a great loss for music, but we are, as we say, we live in the artworks we create. So certainly he is lasting longer thanks to what you have created together. And in terms of story-wise, again, like this is me being very addicted to this kind of vision, because when I first watched your movie, I felt like I was trying always to switch off my phone in my teenage years, and actually I've been kind of resistant to the internet on my phone for a long time. I was the kind of person who would go on with a physical map around Rome looking for a street.
Cool.
Extremely old school. And the reason was I was afraid of how digital world could affect my mind. And it does, because it works in a similar way, brain-wise. So those waves that I was receiving, I was feeling distracted, and I easily get distracted, especially when I'm working on something. So I do have to pressure for focus. So that's why I was refraining from it. But after all, we have to adjust, we have to communicate with it. But at the same time, it's always been like, for me, like studying a little bit social media. I don't know what you think about it. I want to hear your thought. The social media industry calls its clients users, and is a word we also use for people who have an addiction. So do you think, in a way, technology can be an addiction? And if so, is it good then to try to limit it if we can?
I think so. I mean, I feel like sometimes I'm drawn to it, and I realize, but it depends how you use it, because if you use it to, I don't know, like I was mentioning today, if you study, 13 hours, so you draw for 13 hours a day, and you want to disconnect yourself, and instead of watching a movie, you want to play a game, that's fine. The problem is it's not the act, but the habit. Mm-hmm. If you every day you spend like hours and hours, and that's not beneficial to you, but that's a personal question, what's beneficial to you? Mm-hmm. I was going to say something, and I forgot, because it was, if you're using it, you want to wait, it'll come back to you.
It will come back to you, no worries. Yeah. But certainly, as you say, it's a personal thing. So not everyone reacts in the same way, but certainly psychologically, I do believe there is an addiction. And, language is, in a way, the way we shape our thoughts. So it is, I believe, a linguistic spy to call clients of social media, in a way, users, because we do all use it.
Okay, for instance, in the last 2 years, I noticed, I'm not sure if I'm being too harsh on myself, but my vocabulary down. Because I was reading, but I wasn't talking with people all the time, going to school. And I was finding that when I was talking to my friends, sometimes I can't speak.
Oh God. Yeah. John, what do you think in terms of, as a composer, do you feel distracted, or do you feel like sometimes it is a source of inspiration too? How does it work for you?
Technology, well, I think too much of anything is a bad thing, and always kind of is, no matter whether it's technology or otherwise, because I think we just get a little bit complacent with it. But then again, at the same time, particularly during the pandemic and everything else, it's been essential as part of my process, as a composer or music producer. The stuff that you can do now with technology is really, really quite wonderful. Even in the case of this score, which was so beautifully done, is being able to then blend that with, the likes of synths and using the technology from that perspective, which if we didn't have progression there, the world of music would be a very different place, I think. And I think certainly in this score, it stemmed another area of inspiration for Michael, and equally the film as a whole as well, which is really, really interesting for then the audience. So I think it has its pluses and minuses, but yeah, certainly during the pandemic, I'm kind of glad we've had it. When I've been writing, I just have my phone in a drawer and I put it elsewhere. I put it on aeroplane mode and I don't let it distract me. But if it was by my side, I think it would be an issue.
Yeah, it's same with me. But you were saying, Jay, how they call it users, right? And there's one part in the film, I'm not sure if you recall correctly, there's the lead character, the girl with the purple hair, that the light goes red and they move forward, the opposite, and the music is like a march. Dun, 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 dun. And I would have never thought of that. And I was probably Michael telling me all of these parts. He told me, they're blindly following directions, so they're marching along. And so that's great. That's one of the examples that's what I was going to say before. That's one of the examples how the music can reinforce the visuals. And I never thought about that part. I mean, I wanted to show it visually, but the music, and I told the same to Michael, we did 5 films. We're going on the way of 2 more. Nieta was my second film, and it's very abstract. And I told him, of course, in a film, if you don't have the visuals, you don't have a film. But the music is a huge impact. And I told him, this film, Nieta, the sound, the music is crucial, because it will make the audience, because it's little animation. And the same with the on-off. If you notice on-off, the animation is not that much, it's what the characters are thinking. And I approach this film, so it will be almost live action. I love animating like this. Like, this is one of I work in Disney, and my favorite movies are from Disney, and if you look pasteurized, it's all like that. But in this one, in live action, we don't have that approach unless it's theater. And I wanted in this film to just show the state of mind of the characters, and Michael pushed that with the music.
And that's actually what I thought it was great to learn after watching your TED Talk, when you were explaining, the geometrical elements that do compose characters. And then I saw this short that has so much of an abstract approach, so much. Did you in a way use it on purpose like this, where you simplified it because it matched well with the music style that Michael was going for? So it was it looked like to me watching it, it felt like I was watching notes, colorful notes every time. Even if it was a character, I felt this is a musical character somehow.
Yeah, because it's very minimal. It goes with the idea too. I wanted to have the characters, their state of mind, and then this dying. I think that style, the story inspires the style, and the style supports the story. So in this one, I had the story and I said, which style should I use? I wanted to do something minimal. If you notice, some of the characters are having necks. Da Vinci doesn't have any legs. He has only, has feet, but no legs. If you look at the main character, doesn't have a neck. So only to see with get away, the means that get away to show and illustrate the character. At one point, I started removing things that it doesn't make sense, because if I remove an arm, or like the arm, I could remove the arm, but not the hand, for instance.
You kept what was essential to the
essential to keep the integrity of the character and the story.
That's awesome. Like, even every single detail recalls, to remind us what is important. What is important?
Yeah, everything. And in animation, when you start animating, you start thinking what's functional, what you need, and not what you want. Mm-hmm. You may want a bunch of things, but you don't need them. if you don't need them, and if you add them, that will push the production forward. And it's not a function for the film. So there's a quote by Saint-Exupéry that says, "A designer knows he has achieved perfection, not when they can't add anything else, but when they can't remove anything else."
Yes.
I try to remember that all the time when I'm designing, when I'm making the films. If I look at the shot, what the character needs, the psychology behind the character, instead of adding, removing.
Yes, less is more, as we all say.
Yeah.
That's awesome. John, do you have any other question?
Just out of interest, obviously you mentioned throughout that there's some very, very key characters throughout this, and particularly Beethoven. There was a clear reference at one point to then one of his symphonies, particularly Ode to Joy, was kind of featured musically there. It was quite nice because then it started to bring that tempo back in, like you were saying. Was that kind of a purposeful thing on your side and something that was already kind of preempted, or did that come later on through Michael?
I think that's the only thing of the film, of the score, that I'm proud to say that I brought in. The rest is all Michael, and I used that song because, well, I love that song, but if you remember, there's one part when the song starts, we see Beethoven playing it, and then we cut, and it gets interrupted, and it's a film that you want to keep hearing that song, listening to that song, because it's beautiful, and it's dun 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 dun, and you want no, but that's the point of the film, because you're enforcing that it's breaking something beautiful that it was listening, and it started to become this blood.
Wonderful. This little short is just 7 minutes, but it has so much to it. Like, it leaves you, these are the best films in a way, the one that leave you with a lot to think about when you finish watching them.
Those are the ones I love too. Thank you.
That's amazing. We are at the end of our live stream, but I want to share with you a few reminders before we say goodbye to Nicolas and John. So first of all, do remember submissions are still open. So the winners of this edition, as last edition as well, they will be screened at the Festival Emergence, our festival partners in Montreal. So if you are interested, please do submit. At the same time, we are hosting on our streaming platform all the shortlisted candidates. So they will be available from the 14th till the 17th of March, and you will be able to watch on and off. All the winners will also be physically screened at the Ward Cinema in London on the 17th of March in the evening. So if you haven't yet, please do reserve your festival ticket. There are a bunch of free tickets for you to grab, so do check them out on our website or in the link in the comment section of this live stream. Last, very important for on and off, this short, as well as all the shorts who are finalists to our festival, they will be competing for Best Film Audience Award. We will give you further instruction on how to vote for your favorite film, but please do stay tuned, because this certainly will be one of the favorites, I'm sure. Thank you so much, John. Thank you so much, Nicolas, and goodbye for now. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much, Jeff, for the
Thank you.
invitation. Thank you, John.
Cheers. Thanks for your time.